Hi, it's James here from the Sprinkled Donut Forge in Moscow, Texas, and my neighbor's playing with his race truck. I like the sound anyway. He don't complain about my hammering, so I sure don't complain about the sound of a beautiful hot rod engine. Anyway, that ain't what this is about. I'm just trying to give a man a hand. Now, literally, I'm trying to make him some sort of hand. Being a blacksmith, first thing I think about is moving metal parts, and we have to have a way to actuate them. Well, when I was down and walking on a cane, I used a grabber a lot to pick things up, like the ones you see old folks and crippled folks use all the time. I got an old one here I'm gonna grab and show you. It kind of gets my mind to working. See, it's got this little basic handle. See how the spring action works? That kind of reminds me of the old cup hangers that we used to get in trouble for playing with, them wooden ones when we were little kids. Put a boxing glove on the end and break them. Anyway, that works really easily and smoothly. Only problem is it's only got 2 digits. And they're a little bit off center, and the steel's not the best hard steel. I think it used to have rubber cups on the end for picking stuff up, but they're long gone. Anyway, I'm going to kind of go off of this design. Only thing is, I'm going to try to extend this actuating rod out and see if I can't get a couple of more fingers set up on one side, and the other side will act as the thumb. They can't come together like this, because that won't be any good. They got to come together like this. So the axis where they pivot will have to be canted to where they'll come together like that. And if I can manage that, I believe using the cable, let me get the cable. This was a good lawnmower. It died. The cable lived on. Anyway, one end's got this little deal, a doohickey I can hook up to push and pull, just like this rod pulls and pushes and the spring returns it open. I like that. That's a simple mechanism. But let me put that down. Something's got to push and pull the other end of the cable. So first thing I think about is a bicycle hand grip. So basically you need something that pulls the cable like so. So pull it and the spring will draw it back by closing. So basically, what can you do if you don't have any digits on the end of your hand? You can move your arm up and down like so. That kind of makes sense. That's feasible. If you were to wear something Velcro up here that would hold a little paddle under your arm in place, you could, a little adjustment, you could get used to operating your grabber that way. The grabber itself, you picture yourself like this, which is about how my buddy is. They cut all those fingers off that right hand. So if the fingers were out here in front of that, the right distance, should be able to eat with a fork or something, or pick things up. And when you move your arm, being that it's a cable and not a rod, that cable flexes around and it'll retain that closed position. So let's get down to hardtack and brass knuckles. You see my little deal, and you see it's made out of some roughly about 9/16 of an inch wide by pretty thin stock. I have some old bed rail, and I've marked it out, and I'm going to take the angle grinder and cut me some stock like this and manufacture these pieces. And when I get ready to do some kind of assembly or forging rather, I will get back to you. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Alright, let's see if I can explain this so you can get an idea of what I'm attempting to do here. here's our idea thing, or our inspiration rather. You see the parts? There's these small plates. Let me point with something smaller than my finger. There's these small plates here and here. They're 1.25 inches, and the holes are spaced 3/4 of an inch apart. Then there's these long pieces that have 2 holes punched in them. In those locations, also 3/4 of an inch apart, and these are 7 1/4 inches. There's 2 angular bends and 1 twist apiece. So what I'm going to concentrate on doing is punching 21 holes with my little punch here. That way I can have 1 thumb rather and 3 grasping fingers to come down. So I've cut my 1 thumb, 3 grasping fingers, and in each of them I have located and center punched marks in the corresponding locations for the pivot points to be. Of course, all these hard edges are going to be ground round and everything. Like I said, this is a series video, but I'm going to see how far I can get with this today. Now there are 2 of the small 1.25 inch links. It's going to require 3 more, and it'll all be offset to one side. So I've got this plate chisel marked and center punched to make 5 of those pieces. This piece, this is kind of the hub that holds everything together. You notice a long silver mark there? That is this slide notch for this pin to move through. You see how that slide notch works. This thing is old and kind of wonky. It's been abused, but you can see that slide notch is necessary, and in front of the slide notch there's the main pin, and you can see I have marked for the main pin. So the idea of this is to replicate this, only with 3 fingers on top and a thumb on the bottom. And instead of this L-shaped rod here just dead ending out there, it's going to have to pass through and go back down, and I'm going to double this spring system on each side. That way it can pull more evenly, and instead of pulling from one side, it will pull from a central location via the cable. So it will pull both sides down evenly. That way you can get a little bit better grip out of it. Alright, I'm going to get on punching these holes, and I'll let you see me punch 1 or 2, and we'll go from there. See you in a minute. Alright. If I can see my little holes. That heat went bye-bye fast. Instead of wasting time orienting the pieces for the hole fast, I believe I'm going to just go for it and try not to whack the thing off the anvil, because you can see I didn't make very much progress with those holes. Bed rail seems like some pretty hard material. I know that it passes the snap test, so it's bladeable. You could make a knife out of it, and it would probably hold a very good edge. So let's get it back in. We'll punch these holes. See you in a minute. Let's get it out of there. Get these starting marks right. Don't want to damage the punch because I've got a lot of punching to do with it. But if you want to be able to find your holes at a higher heat, you need to get the depressions to where you can find them with the end of the punch easily by feel. See you in a minute. Alright, here we go. And this is just to give you an idea of what I'm going through to achieve this. Dropped it and lost all my heat. Oh well. That hole got deeper. Put it back in there a second. Shouldn't take long to heat up, being as thin as it is. Like I was saying, this is to give you a good round idea of exactly what I'm doing and the difficulty that I go through to do it. I have 21 of these holes to punch. I am not going to make you bear with me through all of that. You can see me punch these holes, and in the next video you're going to see the pieces cut out. And I'll show you the twisting and fitting, and that'll give me time to kind of think of the mounting method I'm going to use to keep it rigid, because I want it to be able to hold something with enough pressure to lift a pound, you know, anything that weighs a pound or less. If you can pick up a pound, you can pick up a drinking glass, and a lot of stuff weighs a pound or less. So, and this is pretty time sensitive because my friend is beginning to get necrosis creep in on his left hand, and I would like him to have a good functional hand. Something to use in the event that he, God forbid, has issues with amputations on the other hand. I think it's terrible. I'm just doing what a mechanically inclined blacksmith would do for his friend. And I know friends that would attempt to do the same for me. So the reason I'm videoing this is because if I'm successful, this might help someone who can't afford a prosthetist, somebody who makes prosthetics. This might give them a mechanical advantage, and it might be something that could be easily made in places like third world countries where you don't have access to a lot of the fancy medical stuff. Well, I just dropped that piece, so I'll see you in a minute. Alright, let's try to punch some holes. Go for the shallowest one first. Well, I punched the slug out. Now, James Davis at County Line Forge gave me a tip on using a wooden block to finish punching your slugs out, and it's an excellent tip. And he's a professional blacksmith, so I trust what he tells me. And it worked wonderfully. It just did. Let me straighten that out and I'll show it to you. We're only at 15 minutes on the video so far, so I'll go ahead and let you see some more punching. Anyway, those are pretty clean little holes. I managed to get dead center from the backside when I through punched them. The holes that are spaced far apart are going to have a slot cut between them, and I'm going to do that with a small cutoff wheel on my Dremel tool, which is a rotary tool that fits a lot of different attachments if you don't know. So I'm not going to quench this stuff because it gets super hard. I'm going to lay this aside. We're going to go for the next piece. Randomly grab one. This one needs 2 holes put in it. See there? Let's get it in, get it hot. See you in a minute. Brush it off. Try to find these marks. There they are. Try to find them while they're still hot. Back in. Let's give it another shot. Try to deepen the equation here. I know I say that a lot, just like see you in a minute. Alright, back in. Alright. See if I'm brave enough to try this. No, don't use the tongs for a hammer. Yes, use the hammer for a hammer. Wow, that one hit knocked 2 slugs out. Yeah, that was dumb. I just stepped on it with my little rubber-soled shoe. Don't do that. Lucky it wasn't a large billet with a lot of heat on it. Anyway, 2 more clean little holes. Are you having fun? Well, I am. So we're going to do one more, and then we'll talk about the rest of the video, what we're going to do next. See you in a minute. Alright. Find our little center punch marks. I see them. See if we can keep enough heat to actually mark them. Shaky hands don't help. Okay, that one kind of resisted a bit, but I think we hit right on our center punch marks. I'll show you. Pretty much spot on, or on the spot rather. This is just like any other process in blacksmithing, or really in any kind of trade where you use your hands. Do a lot of it. Somebody might say, I just made my first S-hook. What do you think I should do? I'm like, looks great. Get some steel hot and make another one. Be like, oh, well, the second one didn't turn out quite like I wanted it. It's okay, just keep that first one you liked and make a third one and a fourth one, and make a dozen more, and keep making them until you can make them without having to think. And that repetition and that muscle memory you develop, that will make you a better craftsman. No matter what you're doing, it will make you a better craftsman. So don't think just because you succeeded at something one time that, oh, I'm a master now, I know this, I got this. No, you got to do it enough to learn all the pitfalls and to teach yourself some ways to improve your productivity, and practice. Practice makes perfect. Not saying that perfection exists by human hands for sure, but practice will make you a better craft person. Like punching these holes. I've punched a lot of holes. But after you punch about 3 or 4 in a row, you start to get in the swing of things. Back in. See you in a minute. Almost lost her. You really don't want to damage your anvil face. You really don't. If I had my way of things, I'd have a backup plate and a punch set up. Just can't seem to index that thing right. Let her get a little cold. Don't want to damage my punch or the piece I'm working on, so I'm going to straighten that back up. Looks like I'm on point because here's the back where I'm punching back through, and the slugs are pooching out almost level with the front. So that side is scored, and I need to punch these through. So I'm going to heat it up, go over the wood block, punch these out, and then we'll talk a little bit, and I'll explain some things to you. See you in a minute. Alright, go over the wood block, knock the dudes out. And it smells like a good oak barbecue. Well, I said success. I still got one hanging on. Alright, we still got heat. Hold on, I'm coming. Punch. Distortion in that one hole. Two nice clean little holes. You put that on the cooling board over here. So why I call it a cooling board. It's like a mortician's term from the 19th century. Anyway. Now let's talk a little bit. seen the thing that's given me ideas. Very useful. And actually, it wouldn't be a bad idea, if you're a crafts person, to make some of these little fellas to sell at your local craft shows. Just have a nice little connular spring. And it's a pretty simple mechanism. And I'm not real sure of the use of this little tab that sticks up, but I used to hook stuff with it. You know, just hook it and pick it up. Anyway, put that down. Don't be worried, I'm not going to clutter my channel with nothing but videos of making the prosthetic hand. I'm going to space that with projects that I would hope would be of interest to my viewers, to you guys out there and gals. But I'm going to try to lead you along through every step of the way. I'll be punching holes all night, probably. And I'm not going to try to assemble anything, because if I did, you wouldn't see it done and wouldn't understand what I was doing to it exactly. I know it'll work, but I'm not so sure how well it'll work. And once I see it function, I'll see if I can't devise ways of making it function a little bit smoother, a little better. But you got to start somewhere. I'm not trying to do this at all to gain any kind of notoriety out of it. I just thought it would be a terrible waste to build this and not to document it where other people can see what's being done. And maybe some of you out there who are a little better tooled up and a little better at mechanical engineering than me, maybe it will give you some inspiration to build something of your own, which would far surpass anything that I would do. And that would be great. We need more of that kind of work out there. We need more people working with their hands and making things for people who cannot. And I think that that's a noble venture. Win, lose, or draw, you did the right thing. The next video is probably going to be another project. Short, simple project, something that I haven't done. I'm going to kind of shy away from the rail spike forging for just a bit, even though rail spikes are absolutely fantastic as a source of mild steel in 5/8. And you have the head that you can do all sorts of things with, make tongs, all sorts of art pieces. I don't want to be known as the I only forge spikes guy, because I blacksmith. It's just the metal that I happen to have access to a lot of. I buy them, but I buy them by the 5-gallon bucket. So I have a lot of these things floating around, and I use them for my projects because they're great. I mean, it's pretty tough mild steel. And the ones that say HC is like a 0.3 carbon, somewhere in that neighborhood. They are not hardenable, but they're actually pretty hard. And I know of people who have made rail spike knives that cut very well and do retain a fairly significant edge. So don't knock the spikes. I take that personally. You can do anything with a spike you want to, except build a prosthetic hand. I'm using some higher carbon steel. Hopefully that will be strong enough to where if you put some mechanical force behind it, it's not going to bend. Or if you need to like twist something with it, I don't know. I don't expect it to be stronger than anything, maybe a pound or less. If you could pick up a pencil and write with it and learn how to do that, that'd be great. Anyway, I'm going to cut this off now. I got a fire going. I got a bunch of holes to punch. I hope you enjoyed watching me poke some holes in some metal. And, oh, before I go, any of you that are forging enthusiasts, and I know a lot of you have probably watched the television series Forged in Fire, you're probably making blades. And when you make blades, you have to put holes. You generally have to put holes through the haft, the part that the handle goes on. And a lot of the steels you're working with are as hard as, if not harder than, the drill bit you'll be attempting to drill a hole with. Might I suggest to you, if you must drill the hole to mechanical precision, if you have a forge or you are forging the blade in any way, a way to heat the metal up to punch the hole, you will save a fortune in drill bits. I kid you not, you will save a fortune in drill bits. If you get the hole to a close enough tolerance to where you can finish it with a drill bit, do not harden it first. Let it anneal. And you can do that by placing the hot steel in a bucket of vermiculite or wood ash, whatever you have on hand, and letting it slow cool for a long period of time, perhaps overnight if you're done for the day. And you can finish those holes out with your drill bit. Anyway, I've talked enough. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, give it a like. If you want to share it, fine. If you don't, well, I was here anyway. I was here for you. If you didn't use me, it's not my fault. So until next time, bye.